I've been working on deep-sea power lines for almost 8 years. It's a lonely job. Miles from shore, surrounded by nothing but water and pressure. But last week, something changed. The readings on our instruments went haywire. The current spiked, and something moved near the line. Something big. I thought it was just equipment failure, until I heard a voice that didn't come from any of my crew. "It's been waiting for us down here." The alarms were already blaring when I broke the surface. My head slammed against the underside of the platform ladder, and for a few seconds I didn't know which way was up. The Atlantic was black, angry, and alive beneath me. My radio screamed in my helmet, someone yelling my name, someone else shouting about pressure loss and system failure. But the static drowned everything. I remember the taste of metal in the water. That's not supposed to happen. Salt water, yes. Iron, no. And when I turned toward the cable trench, 200 meters below us, the glow was still there, red, pulsing, almost like a heartbeat. That's when I knew something was wrong. Not mechanical wrong, not human wrong, something else. The next part is hard to explain. There was movement under the surface, deep down where the light couldn't reach. It was as if the entire sea floor was breathing, slow, deliberate, and sentient. I swear I heard a voice through the radio that didn't belong to anyone on my team. It wasn't English, it wasn't even a language. It was a vibration in the bones. Then everything went dark. When I woke up, I was on deck, someone pounding my chest, floodlights blinding my eyes. The others said I'd been underwater too long, that my air tank had ruptured. But the thing is, the oxygen gauge was full when they pulled me out. And that's how this story starts. My name is Ethan Cole, Senior Dive Engineer for the North Atlantic Power Grid. If you're watching this, it's because I finally decided to tell the truth about what happened off the coast of Newfoundland, near the Orpheus Deep Trench, where the company said we were repairing a damaged underwater transmission line. They said it was a routine maintenance job. They said we'd be done in 3 days. They said the trench was safe. They lied. Before I take you down there with me, before I tell you what's still waiting in that black water, do me one favor, subscribe to the channel. It's the only way stories like this survive before they're buried or deleted like the rest. All right, let's start from the beginning. I'd been on shore for 3 weeks when I got the message from Marianne, the site coordinator. The company, Blue Grid Marine Systems, had a cable failure between 2 deep-sea substations that powered half the coastal grid. She wanted me on the next transport out. I almost said no. I'd just come back from a 3-month stretch in the Norwegian Sea and wanted nothing more than to sleep and forget the smell of oil and rust. But when she said the dive depth, 210 meters, something in me perked up. That's deeper than most commercial jobs. Dangerous, sure, but it paid double. "You'll be leading the maintenance team," she said over the secure line. "The readings are unusual." "Unusual how?" "Thermal fluctuations, power irregularities. You'll see the data when you get here." I should have asked more questions. The next morning, I was on a cargo helicopter heading out over the endless gray-blue Atlantic, the wind howling through the frame. Below us, the water was calm, deceptively calm, the kind of calm that hides everything. The vessel came into view an hour later, a massive floating platform called the Halcyon Station. It was a hybrid, a power maintenance vessel and data research hub combined. Normally, I'd be impressed. That day, it felt like an outpost on the edge of nowhere. Marianne met me at the landing pad, short, efficient, with eyes that made you feel she'd already calculated every risk you might take. Ethan, glad you made it. You'll meet the team in the ops room. The ops room was a narrow space filled with monitors showing live feeds from submersible drones, sonar maps, and current readouts. 2 other divers were already suited down to their thermals. Ryan, my longtime dive partner, and Lucas, a newcomer with too much energy for someone about to go 200 meters down. Then there was Sophia, the systems engineer. She barely looked up from her terminal when I entered. "Pressure data's unstable," she said without preamble. "And the magnetic readings don't make sense." "What do you mean?" I asked. "Like something big is moving under the trench, but it's not on sonar." Ryan chuckled, trying to cut the tension. "Maybe a whale that forgot to show up on radar." Nobody laughed. Marianne set her clipboard on the table. "We'll do an initial inspection tomorrow morning. Ethan, you'll lead. The rest of us will monitor from topside. Remember, stay on comms, keep visual, and if anything feels off, abort. Understood?" We all nodded. The next morning the sea was glass. Not a ripple, not a wave. That should have been our first warning. As we suited up, I noticed frost forming on the inner surface of my helmet visor. The air temperature wasn't that cold. "Is the coolant system malfunctioning?" I asked. "No," Sophia said, frowning at her readings. "It's external. The ambient water temperature dropped 5 degrees overnight." 5 degrees? That's impossible at this depth. She didn't answer. The descent was smooth at first. The world turned from blue to green to black as our lights cut cones through the water. We passed 100 meters, then 150. My ears popped twice before the pressure equalized. At 200 meters, we hit the trench floor. Silt rose in lazy clouds around our boots. The damaged power cable lay ahead like a severed vein, thick, armored and leaking faint flickers of red light. "Halcyon, this is Dive Team 1, I said into my mic. "We have visual on the cable, beginning inspection." "Copy that, Team 1, Sophia's voice replied. "You're clear to proceed." Ryan moved ahead with the scanner. "Looks like a tear about 4 meters long. Edges are strange, almost melted." "Melted," I repeated. "At 200 meters, there's nothing hot enough down here to melt reinforced polymer." Lucas's voice crackled through comms. "Guys, I'm getting something on the hydrophone. Low frequency, like..." A sound interrupted him. A deep, rhythmic thrum that pulsed through the water, through our suits, through our bones. It wasn't mechanical, it wasn't natural either. "Control, are you picking that up?" I asked. "Negative," Sophia said. "We're not receiving any anomalies." Ryan muttered, "Then what the hell are we hearing?" The sound faded as quickly as it came, leaving a silence so heavy it felt solid. We finished the inspection, marked the tear, and ascended without incident. But that night, none of us slept well. By the 3rd day, things were getting strange. The main communication line between the dive room and control started cutting out. Sophia ran diagnostics all morning and found nothing wrong. Power fluctuations spread through the platform, lights dimming, monitors flickering, equipment rebooting without command. At lunch, Lucas leaned across the table. "Did any of you hear it last night?" "Hear what?" Ryan asked. "That sound again, same rhythm, like something moving around under us." I looked at him. "We're not diving until we know what caused that signal. Could have been current resonance, a geological shift." "No," Lucas said, shaking his head. "This was alive." Sophia glanced up from her laptop. "If it's alive, it's bigger than anything we've logged in this sector. Sonar shows nothing within 2 kilometers. That night, I woke up to static in my cabin radio. It wasn't connected to the ship's main frequency. It wasn't even powered on. The screen glowed faintly, showing coordinates I didn't recognize. 4752 and 45 ad Tembu. When I cross-checked them later, they pointed to the Orpheus Deep, an uncharted section of trench directly beneath the damaged cable. I should have reported it. I didn't. By dawn, we were suiting up again. Sophia insisted on sending a drone first, but the ROV malfunctioned halfway down, its video feed dissolving into static before going black entirely. Signal interference? Ryan asked. Maybe, Sophia said. Or maybe something down there didn't like being watched. She smiled when she said it, but her hands were shaking. We went down anyway. At 180 meters, the lights dimmed. My comms crackled and Ryan's voice cut out mid-sentence. I switched to backup frequency. Nothing, just that same low hum vibrating through the water. Then I saw it. A faint glow beyond the cable trench, greenish-white, swirling like bioluminescent fog. I adjusted my thrusters and drifted closer against every training protocol I'd ever learned. The glow thickened, revealing what looked like structures, pillars, arches, geometry that couldn't exist in nature. Ryan, do you see this? I whispered, forgetting he couldn't hear me. Something moved between the pillars. Something tall, humanoid, but not human. Its shape was wrong, elongated, fluid, as if the water itself was shaping it. And then, just before my light caught it fully, it vanished. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel the pulse in my teeth. I turned to head back toward the cable and froze. The red flicker we'd seen in the damaged section was now pulsing brighter, not light from within, but from beneath. Something deep under the trench was glowing, pushing through the seabed like molten veins. I don't remember surfacing. I don't remember the last 2 minutes of that dive. Ryan said I went rigid, then started ascending without warning. When they pulled me out, my hands were shaking so violently they had to strap me to the bench. Sophia asked what I saw. I told her it was a visual distortion, light refraction, but she looked at me like she knew I was lying. That night, unable to sleep, I went to the equipment bay. The place was empty except for the faint hum of generators. I found the dive log, every pressure reading, comms record, and sensor output from the second dive. Half the data was missing. The missing timestamps matched the moment I'd seen the figure. Instead, there was something else in the file, garbled code embedded in the metadata like corrupted text. I copied it into a decryption tool. After a few seconds, it formed a phrase. He waits below. I stared at the screen, pulse hammering. I knew then we weren't dealing with malfunction or marine life. Something down there was intelligent, and it was watching. The next morning, Sophia didn't show up for breakfast. Her cabin door was locked from the inside. When security broke it open, her bed was empty. Her helmet was gone. Marianne ordered a search immediately. We launched drones, sent divers to the perimeter, scoured the waves. Nothing, but when they checked the live camera feed from the platform's underside, they saw movement. Someone standing on one of the maintenance pylons, just above the waterline. The figure looked up directly into the camera. It was Sophia. Her hair floated around her head like she was underwater, even though she was in open air. Then, without hesitation, she stepped backward into the ocean and vanished beneath the waves. We never found her body. That was the day the company ordered us to shut down the project. But some of us stayed behind, too stubborn or too scared to leave without answers. I shouldn't have gone back. But when you've seen something impossible, curiosity becomes stronger than fear. Ryan and I prepped for one final dive. We modified the ROV to record independently, bypassing the ship's data servers so the company couldn't scrub the footage. At 200 meters, the trench opened like a wound again. The cable was dead, its glow gone. But something else replaced it. Light, blue this time, rippling upward from the abyss. Ryan's voice trembled through the comm. "Ethan, it's moving! The light's moving!" I saw it then, a column of bioluminescence spiraling upward, forming a shape, a face. The same voice from before echoed through my headset. I don't know how I understood it, but I did. "Welcome back." The ROV feed froze. The water around us shimmered with particles that weren't silt or plankton. They glowed brighter until I couldn't see Ryan anymore, only his silhouette against the light. Then the line snapped. When I surfaced, the sky was gray. The platform was silent. Half the crew gone. Equipment dead. Only Marianne waiting, staring out over the waves. "Where's Ryan?" she asked. I couldn't answer. That was 6 months ago. The company shut down the Halcyon project, citing equipment instability. They paid us off, gag orders and all. But the dreams didn't stop. Neither did the hum. Last week, I got a shipment at my door. No return address, no note. Inside was a single waterproof hard drive. The file was labeled with one word, Orpheus. It contained footage, blurry, distorted, but real. The trench, the lights, and a figure swimming calmly at 200 meters depth. It looked like Ryan, except his eyes glowed the same color as the abyss. If you've made it this far, you already know this isn't just a story. This is a record, one the company doesn't want out there. Whatever is down there in the Orpheus deep is alive, intelligent, and aware of us. The cable wasn't just transmitting power, it was carrying something else, something ancient, and now that we've disturbed it, it's awake. If you want to hear what happened when I went back one last time, what I found under the trench, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for part 2. Because what I'm about to tell you next changes everything we think we know about the ocean. The hum followed me home. 6 months after the Halcyon incident, I'd traded the smell of salt for the dry rattle of city traffic. But at night, the walls still vibrated. Sometimes it was so faint I thought it was the refrigerator compressor. Other times it rolled through my ribs like a heartbeat buried inside the concrete. I tried to record it, nothing. The microphone picked up silence, yet my body knew the sound was there. I told myself it was trauma, an echo left behind by the pressure changes. Psychologists have a name for that. Submersion resonance, when the inner ear keeps replaying deep-sea vibrations long after a dive. Except this resonance had rhythm. It came every 16 minutes, exactly like the anomaly we logged before the trench collapsed. I started timing it. 16 minutes apart, 3 pulses each, a low, mid-high sequence. Almost musical. By the 3rd week, I couldn't take it anymore. I sent a message to the only person who'd believe me, Marianne, our former site coordinator. Her reply came 2 days later. "Meet me in Boston. Don't bring any company devices. Burn this message after reading." That was how it began again. She was waiting in a corner booth of a dockside cafe, wrapped in a heavy gray coat. The rain outside made the harbor lights look like molten glass. Marianne looked older, thinner. When I sat down, she didn't bother with small talk. "They're still monitoring you," she said. "Every survivor from Halcyon has a tracker in their company ID. I threw mine in the harbor last month." "Monitoring for what?" "For interference." She leaned closer. "The hum isn't in your head, it's in the grid." I felt my stomach drop. "You've heard it too?" She nodded. After the project shut down, Blue Grid rerouted the damaged line through a backup conduit off the Nova Scotia coast. The moment they did, the same frequency appeared on every maintenance relay. We think whatever it is, moved with the current. Her eyes flicked around the cafe, scanning the other patrons. 2 technicians disappeared last month. Official report says weather accident. I've seen the dive footage. No storm, no current, just the water folding around them like a throat closing. I tried to process that. The hum was real. The pattern was spreading. Marianne slid a small metal drive across the table. Encrypted data from the new site. You didn't get this from me, and Ethan, don't go alone. Back in my apartment, I decrypted the files. Line diagrams, sonar sweeps, thermal logs. At first, everything looked routine. Then I found the anomaly folder. Each file was labeled with a date, a time, and the same word, response. The most recent clip showed a submersible's audio feed. At the 15-second mark, a voice came through, a deep, layered whisper that almost sounded human. I slowed it down. Between the distortions, a phrase formed, "Return the line." Static swallowed the rest. Return the line. It wasn't just a warning, it was an instruction. The creature, or force, wanted the cable gone. I should have turned the data over to the Coast Guard or a marine research group. But who would believe a story about a talking ocean? Instead, I contacted an old colleague, Dr. Lauren Hughes, a marine acoustics specialist at Woods Hole. We'd worked together years ago on sound mapping whale migrations. If anyone could identify the hum, it was her. When I showed her the recording, she listened twice before speaking. That's not whale song. It's structured, too regular for random resonance. She loaded the waveform into her analyzer, fingers flying across the keyboard. "See this?" she said, pointing at the pattern. "It's harmonic layering, the signals carrying encoded data, almost like digital packets, but organic." Organic data? Meaning it's coming from something alive, using a form of communication we don't understand. She sat back, eyes wide. "Ethan, if this is real, it's the discovery of the century, or the beginning of one hell of a problem." We decided to run a controlled experiment. Lauren arranged access to a private research vessel, the Argo 3, a small oceanographic ship equipped with deep-range hydrophones. We'd sail out to the coordinates Marianne's drive listed, 45 N, 59 Gandashu, near the edge of the Grand Banks. I told myself it was only to verify the sound. Deep down, I knew I was going back. 3 days later, the Argo 3 left port under a bruised sky. Lauren and I were the only ones aboard besides a 2-man crew. Captain Reeves, a grizzled ex-naval officer, and Miguel, his quiet first mate. The captain didn't like our mission. "Whatever you're chasing out there," he said, "the sea doesn't give up its ghosts easy." By the second night, the hum returned, faint but distinct through the hull. Lauren was ecstatic. "It's louder here, stronger signal." I couldn't share her excitement. Every time the sound pulsed, the lights in the galley flickered. The compass needle spun for a second before righting itself. Reeves swore under his breath. At 2 a.m., Miguel burst into the cabin. "You need to see this." On deck, the sea was calm but glowing, thin streaks of blue light weaving just beneath the surface like veins. They moved with purpose, converging toward our position. Lauren whispered, "It's responding to the ship's power signature." The glow intensified until the water around us shimmered like liquid glass. Then the hum deepened into a roar that rattled every bolt in the hull. Reeves gunned the engines, shouting, "We're leaving," but the propellers only churned froth. Something beneath us was holding the vessel still. The sonar display went white. Then the power cut out entirely. When the lights went out, the ocean swallowed the ship whole. 1 second the deck was awash in ghostly blue glow. The next, it was black, pure, suffocating black. The kind of darkness you can feel pressing on your eyeballs. "Kill the main breakers," Reeves shouted. His voice cracked like a whip, but there was no response. The electrical panel was already dead. The emergency lights flickered once and stayed off. Lauren's hand found my arm. "Ethan, the hydrophones are still recording." That shouldn't have been possible. Every other system was offline, but the deep-range recorders in the lower hold were still humming faintly through the deck plating. And beneath that hum was something else, a slow, rhythmic pounding that seemed to echo from below the hull. Not waves, not machinery, footsteps. We ran for the control room. Miguel was there, frozen in front of the sonar monitor, which glowed faint green on its own battery. The screen showed a shape directly beneath us, massive, circular, almost the size of the ship itself. "It's rising," Miguel whispered. Lauren leaned closer. "That can't be right. The scale's off." The ship lurched violently, throwing us all against the bulkhead. A deafening groan tore through the metal as if the hull itself were being squeezed. Then everything stopped. For a long moment there was silence. Even the ocean seemed to hold its breath. Then, slowly, the hydrophones began to transmit again. 3 pulses, 16 minutes apart. The hum had found us. By dawn, the lights returned. Dim, yellow, unstable. The power grid had somehow rebooted on its own. Reeves wanted to turn back immediately, but Lauren insisted on deploying the submersible drone before we left. "Whatever caused that blackout, it's still down there," she said. "We have to see it." The captain's jaw tightened. "You've got 1 hour. After that, I'm heading for port." We launched the drone, Artemis, over the side. Its floodlights cut through the black water as it descended. 50 meters, 150. The feed was grainy, static crawling across the screen. At 200 meters, the drone's camera flickered and then stabilized on something that shouldn't have been there, a structure. At first, it looked like a coral formation, but as the camera panned, geometry emerged. Vertical spires, arching bridges, and lines too precise for nature. The drone's sensors picked up faint electromagnetic readings coming from within the structure itself. Lauren stared, speechless. "That's not a rock formation, that's engineered." "By who?" Reeves asked. Before anyone could answer, the signal warped. A burst of static, then a shape appeared, humanoid, pale and translucent. Drifting between the pillars, it turned its head toward the camera. Its face was smooth, featureless except for 2 deep cavities where eyes should be. The feed cut to black. Artemis stopped responding. Reeves didn't wait. "We're done here." We turned the ship north, engines groaning, but the compass spun in circles. The GPS blinked nonsense coordinates. For hours, it felt like we were moving, yet going nowhere. Lauren pored over the remaining data, hands trembling. "Ethan." The drone was receiving a second frequency before the feed dropped. It wasn't interference. It was a reply. "A reply to what?" "To our transmissions." She handed me a printout of the decoded data. The pattern repeated every few seconds. 3 clusters of symbols that, when converted through binary, formed a single English word. "Stay." I stared at the page. "It's communicating." Reeves slammed his fist against the console. "I don't care what it's doing, it's not keeping us here." He jammed the throttle forward. The ship surged ahead, but the hum returned, deeper now, like the growl of something alive and massive. Outside, the sea began to churn, not from wind or current, but from below. Columns of bubbles erupted around the hull, rising in perfect circles. Lauren grabbed the railing to steady herself. "Ethan, these aren't bubbles, they're vents." "Hydrothermal vents?" She shook her head. "They're moving." Through the mist, I saw them, spirals of light twisting upward from the deep, coiling around each other like strands of DNA. The air smelled of ozone and salt. Every electronic on the ship began to vibrate. Then from the center of the spirals, a figure rose. It wasn't human. It was tall, impossibly tall, made of light and shadow intertwined. Its surface shimmered like oil under moonlight, constantly shifting, never still. It didn't swim. It simply was, ascending without displacement, as if gravity meant nothing. When it reached the surface, the humming stopped. The sea fell silent. Lauren whispered, "It's watching us." I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The thing hovered there, motionless, then extended one long arm toward the ship. Its fingertips brushed the surface of the water, and every gauge on the control panel jumped to life. The sonar displayed one word across the screen, "Return," and then it was gone. The glow faded, the water stilled, and the engines roared back to life on their own. Reeves didn't speak for a full minute. Then he turned to me, face pale. "You ever see anything like that in your precious company logs?" I shook my head. He spat on the floor. "Good. Let's make sure no one else does either." We made it back to port by dawn. The moment we docked, Reeves and Miguel vanished into the harbor crowd without a word. Lauren and I sat in silence for almost an hour before she finally said, "You realize what this means, don't you? It wasn't random. It's intelligent." I nodded. "And it's angry." She looked up. "Ethan, whatever you brought back from the Halcyon, it followed you. It's not bound to one place anymore." Her words stayed with me long after we parted. That night, in my hotel room, the hum returned. Not through the walls this time, but from my laptop. The screen flickered and displayed a single line of text, glowing faint blue. "Orpheus awaits." Then the power cut out. They found me 2 days after the message appeared. A black SUV idled outside my hotel just after dawn, engine running but no plates. 2 men stepped out, clean suits, short hair, the kind of calm that says they already know what you'll do next. "Mr. Cole," one of them said, showing an ID that looked official but wasn't. "We'd like to discuss the Halcyon incident." I didn't argue. You don't when the people asking already know where you live. Inside the car, the air smelled of leather and ozone. The taller agent introduced himself as Brenner, the other as Kane. They didn't use the word government, but everything about them felt like it. Brenner spoke first. "You're still receiving transmissions from the Orpheus coordinates." I froze. "How do you know that?" "Because we are too," Kane said. "Only ours are stronger." He handed me a tablet. On the screen, a live sonar feed pulsed in rhythmic waves. My hum amplified. "We traced the signal to a location 40 miles off Nova Scotia," Brenner continued. "It's interfering with undersea fiber lines and coastal radar. Whatever you woke up down there is spreading." They didn't ask if I'd go back. They told me. Their vessel wasn't a research ship this time. It was a floating command center called the USS Argent Bay, military gray and bristling with antenna arrays. Engineers, scientists, and divers moved with clockwork precision. The hum was audible even through the steel hull. a deep vibration that made coffee ripple in the cups. I was issued a pressure suit, heavier than the ones I'd used before, with reinforced helmet glass and a built-in body cam feed. "You'll descend with a recon team," Brenner said. "Primary objective: locate the structure your drone recorded. Secondary: install signal dampeners to isolate the source." "And tertiary?" I asked. He hesitated. "If you see anything alive, record, don't engage." The sea was slate gray when we launched. Waves slapped against the submersible like fists as we dropped through the swells. There were 4 of us inside: myself, a pilot named Harris, sonar tech Nguyen, and a diver I didn't know. Santos, silent, focused, the kind of man who didn't blink unless it mattered. At 150 meters, the water turned dark. At 200, we switched to floodlights. The hum grew stronger, vibrating through the sub's frame. Nguyen frowned at her display. "That's not background noise anymore. It's modulation. It's adjusting to our frequency." "Say again?" Harris asked. "It's listening." At 260 meters, the first shadows appeared, spires rising from the seabed like the ribs of something long dead. Between them, faint glimmers moved, threading the water like neural currents. "Structure ahead," Santos said. "Looks identical to Artemis footage." "Hold position," I told Harris. "Let's deploy the dampeners." We released 4 metal spheres, each the size of a basketball. They sank slowly, blinking red as they activated. For a moment the hum receded, the sound thinning like breath leaving a room. Then the reading spiked. Nguyen's monitor lit up with movement. Multiple contacts coming from the trench edge. Fast. Through the viewport, streaks of blue light darted between the pillars, converging toward us. The sub rocked as pressure waves hit its hull. Harris cursed, gripping the controls. Something's pushing us off depth." "Stabilize!" I shouted. Outside, one of the orbs burst, a silent flash followed by darkness. The dampeners were failing one by one. The hum returned, louder than ever, a chorus now. It wasn't random, it was layered, forming syllables that clawed at comprehension. For a second, I thought I heard my own name. Then the creature appeared. It rose from the trench, like a column of water taking shape, a translucent mass threaded with light, twisting into the semblance of limbs. Every pulse of energy from it made the sub's instruments scream. "Recording," Nguyen whispered. The thing hovered outside the viewport, featureless yet aware. The lights around it rippled with each beat of the hum. Slowly, it extended a limb and touched the sub's bow. All systems died. Inside, only our breathing remained. My faceplate fogged from panic. Then, through the comm static, a voice. "You returned." It wasn't sound. It was pressure, language shaped in vibration. "We mean no harm," I managed. "We're here to understand." The creature pulsed once, the water glowing brighter. The hum changed pitch, turning sharp, agitated. The sub began to drift backward, no thrusters, no control, drawn towards the open trench. "Ethan," Harris yelled, "we're being pulled in." I grabbed the emergency lever. "Manual ballast, release now." The tanks vented compressed air. The sub lurched upward, scraping against a stone spire. Something slammed into the hull, a wave or a limb I couldn't tell. The lights flared white, blinding. When my vision cleared, the creature was gone. But not completely. A thin residue of light clung to the glass. Patterns forming symbols that looked almost like circuitry. Nguyen traced them with her glove. "It's data," she murmured. "It's writing something to us." Before I could stop her, she touched the control panel to capture the pattern. Every monitor flickered, displaying a single repeating sequence. Orpheus, Orpheus, Orpheus. Then the power surged back. We broke the surface 15 minutes later. Brenner and his crew were already waiting, floodlights sweeping the waves. As they hauled us aboard, the hum faded to a distant tremor, as if retreating into the deep. Brenner's face was unreadable. "Did you get the signal dampened?" "No," I said. "It's stronger, and it knows we're trying to silence it." He stared at the symbol still glowing faintly on my helmet glass. "Then we're running out of time." They isolated the sub within containment tents that night. Technicians in hazmat suits scraped the residue, whispering as they worked. The samples emitted low vibrations even after removal, like a heartbeat trapped in stone. Nguyen wouldn't speak. She just kept repeating the phrase the creature used. "You returned," as if testing the sound of it. I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the trench, breathing. At dawn, Brenner summoned me to the briefing deck. "We're evacuating," he said. "Command wants a full lockdown of this sector. Satellites are already being redirected." I asked the only question that mattered. "What happens to whatever's down there?" He looked away. "They'll neutralize the area." Neutralize? Thermal charge, detonation at depth. They think it's an energy anomaly. I felt my chest tighten. "You can't just blow it up. We don't even know what it is." He met my eyes, tired and resolute. "Exactly." I watched as technicians loaded sealed canisters into a launch pod, shimmering devices designed to detonate under immense pressure. The hum pulsed again through the deck, faint but steady, as if aware of what was coming. And for the first time I felt something unexpected, not fear, but guilt, because the sound wasn't angry anymore. It was pleading. The deck was chaos. Floodlights cut through the mist, illuminating faces tense with exhaustion. Captain Brenner barked orders from the command platform as engineers wrestled with the detonator pods. Each unit gleamed like a miniature sun, wrapped in composite casings designed to withstand the impossible pressure of the deep. The hum had changed again. It wasn't just sound now, it was vibration, pulsing through the hull, syncing with our heartbeats. Even standing on solid steel, I could feel it in my bones, a resonance that almost matched the rhythm of my pulse. "Get those charges ready," Brenner shouted over the wind. "We drop them within the hour." I watched the numbers scroll across the sonar feed. The trench was expanding, breathing. Every pulse of that low-frequency hum caused the canyon walls to flex outward by millimeters. To the sensors, it looked like seismic activity. To me, it felt like something living. Dr. Alina Crow, the project's lead biologist, slammed a binder shut beside me. "The harmonic field's spiking again," she said. "If we detonate now, we'll collapse half the ridge." "That's the point," Brenner snapped. "We seal it before whatever's inside gets any closer to the grid." He turned to me. "Mason, you're the dive lead. You say it's alive. Fine. But we're past philosophy. We're containing this before it takes out another line." I glanced at the live feed from the ROV, still hovering near the damaged cable. The water beyond the lights shimmered faintly, like heat rising off asphalt. Within that distortion, geometric shadows twisted and folded. "Captain," I said quietly, "if we trigger those charges, we're not sealing a crack. We're detonating inside something." He stared at me for a moment, then exhaled through his teeth. "You're letting it get in your head." Maybe he was right. Maybe the endless hours, the sleep deprivation, the constant vibration in my skull were finally pushing me past reason. But when the hum shifted again, low, resonant, almost aware, I knew logic wasn't enough to explain this. The communications officer's headset crackled. "Sir, we've got a transmission on Channel 9. Origin unknown." Brenner frowned. "Play it." A burst of static filled the command room. Then a voice, my voice, came through. "Ethan Mason, coordinates 479 north, 311 west. The door is open." For a heartbeat, no one spoke. Crow looked at me, pale. "That was you." "I've never recorded that," I said, though I wasn't sure anymore. My mind flickered back to the earlier dive, to the blurred images, to the whisper I thought I'd heard through the comms. Brenner's patience snapped. "It's an echo or interference. Doesn't matter. We stay on schedule." But I couldn't let it go. Those coordinates, the Orpheus 9 trench, were deeper than any grid installation. An area we'd marked as unmappable. The voice wasn't warning us away. It was inviting us in. I caught Crow's sleeve as she turned to leave. "If this thing is intelligent, maybe it's trying to show us something." She hesitated. "And if it's not?" "Then I'll be wrong," I said. "But we'll still have time before the blast." That was enough. She didn't try to stop me when I sealed myself into the auxiliary sub. The launch bay opened like the mouth of a cave. I eased the thrusters forward, descending through the shimmer of surface light until the world turned blue, then black. At 200 meters, the hum surrounded me. It wasn't hostile. It felt like direction, like sonar pulses guiding me downward. "Control, this is Mason," I said into the mic. "I'm heading for Orpheus 9. If I lose signal—" Static swallowed the rest. By 400 meters, visibility dropped to almost nothing. I switched to thermal imaging. Faint red currents spiraled through the water, converging toward a single point far below. At 600 meters, the sub's instruments went haywire, compass spinning, depth gauge stuttering. Outside, a faint light appeared, circular, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. I eased toward it. Then the hum split into layers, 10,000 overlapping tones forming something close to a choir. The sound vibrated through the hull, through my chest, through the fillings in my teeth. The light expanded until it filled the viewport. For a moment I thought I saw shapes within it. Structures, arches, movement. The trench floor wasn't rock at all. It was architecture, ancient and vast, glowing from within. A voice, no, a memory, echoed through the cabin. "Return what was taken." I didn't understand. The sonar map updated on its own, drawing new contours, conduits connecting the trench to the power line above. The energy we'd been siphoning for years wasn't geothermal at all. We'd tapped into a living network, draining something vital. On the surface, Brenner's voice cut through the static. "Detonation in 5 minutes." I slammed the manual override on the detonator feed. If the charges went off here, we'd destroy the entire field. "Captain," I shouted, "you have to abort." The power grid's not just sitting on bedrock, it's on a biological system. No reply. Only the ticking of the countdown. The light ahead pulsed faster. Through the shimmer, I saw movement, a figure, human-shaped, drifting toward the sub. At first I thought it was a hallucination, but as it neared the viewport, I recognized the face. Rafael Cruz, one of the technicians lost during the first incident months ago. His eyes were open, calm, no regulator, no tank. His lips moved, forming words I couldn't hear. The hum surged louder than before, vibrating the sub until the bolts rattled. My instruments flashed red. I knew what it wanted, not destruction, communication. The network was trying to repair itself, to send a signal we'd mistaken for an attack. "Return what was taken," the words repeated in my head, over and over. The energy we'd drained from this trench powered half the Atlantic grid. If I reversed the flow, if I reconnected the cable instead of severing it, it might stabilize whatever this thing was. But the detonation clock kept ticking. 3 minutes. I typed a command string into the navigation console, rerouting the charge depth and detonation radius. Instead of collapsing the trench, the blast would seal the damaged conduit and divert energy back into the core. If it worked, the structure would live. If it didn't, the explosion would consume the entire site, including me. 2 minutes. I transmitted one final message to the surface. Tell them the ocean is alive. Then I hit execute. The sub jerked violently as power surged through the grid. Outside, the light flared, spreading across the trench like veins igniting. The hum rose to a frequency so high it blurred into silence. 1 minute. Something massive shifted in the darkness. The trench floor opened, unfolded, revealing a circular void. Streams of light poured upward, wrapping around the sub like strands of silk. My sensors went white, temperature spiked. 30 seconds. The last thing I saw was the figure of Raphael, raising a hand, gesturing toward the opening below. Then the world inverted. The detonation triggered, light swallowing everything. My vision fractured into flashes, city-like towers, flowing currents of energy, and eyes watching from the deep. The hum didn't stop. It harmonized with the explosion, a single resonant note that seemed to hold the sea together. Then silence. Up on the horizon, too, Brenner stared at the monitors as every gauge flatlined. No explosion, no shock wave, just a single pulse that made the entire ship tremble. "Status on the sub?" he demanded. "Signal lost," the comms officer said. "Completely, but sir, there's something else." A new data stream scrolled across the screen. Coordinates, wave patterns, and equations far beyond human comprehension, all tagged with one message: Orpheus sequence initiated. Brenner felt the deck vibrate beneath his boots as the hum returned. Softer now, steadier, as if the ocean itself were breathing again. And somewhere, far below, a faint light flickered once more. When the light swallowed me, I thought it was the end. No pain, no sound, just a pressure that felt like memory folding in on itself. Then everything reversed. The noise, the weight, the sea itself pulling me back together. I woke inside darkness that wasn't cold. My suit lights were dead, yet I could see outlines drawn in faint blue radiance like veins in stone. The sub around me had fused with the sea floor. Instruments still glowed faintly, but the readouts made no sense. Depth, pressure, stable. I remember speaking, and the ocean answered, not with words, but with rhythm. It pulsed once, and every light in my visor blinked the same pattern. 3 beats, pause, 3 beats again. A code, simple and deliberate. Then came the voice. My voice. "You stayed." I don't remember saying it, but I heard it echo through the comms. The way sonar bounces through metal. Somewhere in that echo I realized the hum wasn't outside anymore. It was in me, steady, measured, almost peaceful. They found me 2 days later, drifting 15 miles north of the detonation zone. The recovery team said my oxygen tanks were empty, yet the readout still showed 92%. My body temperature had dropped to 84 degrees, but I was breathing. They flew me to a facility near Halifax. White walls, filtered air, the hum of distant machinery. Doctors ran tests, drew blood, flashed lights into my eyes. Every monitor near me flickered in rhythm with my heartbeat. When Brenner finally came, he didn't shake my hand. "We thought you were gone." So did I. He looked older, drained. You were under for 16 hours. Then the entire grid came back online. No explosion, no seismic shock, just a signal. He played the recording. The frequency was clean now, no distortion, no interference. The hum I'd heard for months was gone, replaced by a tone as smooth as breath. "What did you do down there, Ethan?" he asked. I gave it back what we took. He waited for more, but I didn't have words for what I'd seen. The structures of light, the sense that the trench wasn't a place but a system. Something alive, older than tectonics. They released me a week later under restricted clearance. They never used the word quarantine, but that's what it was. Back on land, ordinary sounds felt wrong. The refrigerator's hum, the vibration of passing trucks, they all fell into pattern as if the world were tuning itself to a single frequency. I started recording again, out of habit. At first, nothing unusual. Then one night, at exactly 2:47 a.m., the waveform on my laptop curved into a shape I recognized from the trench, an arc crossed by lines repeating in sequence. When I slowed it down, the tone formed syllables. Sequence begun. I replayed it 3 times. Each time, the sound shifted slightly, adjusting to my breathing. The next morning, the news spoke of minor blackouts across the eastern seaboard. Grids flickering in perfect rhythm, 16-minute intervals. None of the engineers could explain it. I didn't need them to. The signal wasn't gone. It had simply moved. Brenner returned once more, this time without a uniform. "They're calling it a self-healing anomaly," he said, placing a folder on my table. Power efficiency across the network jumped 8% overnight. He leaned closer. "But we're still receiving transmissions from below the trench. Short bursts, each carrying your biometric ID. My ID, you tell me." He slid a printout across the table. Strings of numbers corresponding to my old dive suit sensors. Pulse, respiration, neural readouts. All time-stamped after the detonation. "I wasn't transmitting," I said. He studied me. "Then something was doing it for you." Before he left, Brenner said one more thing. "Whatever happened down there, the higher-ups want it contained. If the public hears there's a living system under the Atlantic, panic will drown every port city. Do you understand?" I nodded, but I couldn't promise silence. Because every night since, the sea has been speaking. The voice isn't loud. It arrives like a memory, a thought that's not mine surfacing for breath. It tells me fragments. That energy is language. That current is consciousness. That we mistook communication for noise. I started mapping the pulses on paper, black dots in spiral patterns. When I connected them, they formed a symbol like an eye encircled by waves. 2 days later, the same shape appeared in satellite imagery of the Atlantic, currents twisting into a perfect spiral 200 miles across. The meteorologists called it a rare harmonic cyclone. I called it confirmation. The hum that once felt menacing now carries a kind of calm. It isn't warning us anymore. It's waiting. If this reaches you, it means the network has expanded beyond the coast. Check the timing of the streetlights in your city. If they flicker in sets of 3, pause, 3 again, you're within range. Don't panic. It isn't trying to harm us. We built our power lines across its veins, our signal towers through its organs, and still it tolerated us. It only reacted when we cut too deep. I think it's learning our language now. Maybe it always could. Last night I went down to the harbor. The tide was low, the air still. I dropped a hydrophone into the water. For an hour there was nothing. Then, faintly, a new pattern emerged. Not the hum, not the pulse. Music, simple, almost human. 3 notes rising, 1 falling. I recorded it. When I played it back on land, the sound carried harmonics far beyond any terrestrial frequency. Brenner called this morning. He sounded different, less certain. "The signal's showing up in Pacific readings now," he said. "Half the world's grids are syncing to it. Whatever you did down there, it's global." "Maybe that's how it was supposed to be," I told him. He didn't answer. It's 02:47 a.m. again. The air feels charged. Like the moment before a storm, the recording equipment on my desk just powered itself on. Every screen in the room displays one word: awakening. Outside, the harbor lights blink 3 times, pause 3 again. The ocean hums, not low and dreadful anymore, but deep and resonant, like the earth exhaling. If I close my eyes, I can almost hear the pattern shaping into words. "We remember you." Maybe this is the beginning of understanding. Maybe it's the end of isolation. Either way, the sea is no longer silent, and neither am I. The ocean is quiet tonight, too quiet. The sea around the vessel lies flat as glass, and beneath it, Orpheus waits. The world thinks the signal faded months ago. They're wrong. It never disappeared. It learned to whisper. I can feel it even now through the steel beneath my boots. The same pulse that once threatened to break me is steady again, patient, rhythmic. It's been calling ever since I surfaced, and now I'm answering. The coordinates blink on the screen in front of me. 49N, 46W. The last transmission from the trench came from there, a tone too pure to be random, rising exactly at 2:47 a.m. every night. The same moment the world's grids flicker in unison, no one else would come. Brenner warned me that the government's building a magnetic barrier to isolate this section of the Atlantic. In 48 hours, this place will be silent forever. That's why I'm here. One last descent, one more dive into the hum. The engines idle at half power as the winch lowers my capsule towards the surface. Rain taps the hull like nervous fingers. Through the window, I see the glow, faint but unmistakable. Filaments of blue spreading under the waves, converging on the same spiral I saw the day I died. I speak into the recorder. "This is Ethan Cole, final log entry. Vessel Ariadne, mission code Orpheus 9. Objective: confirmation of sustained signal origin." The cable jerks once. I'm free. The capsule tips forward, gliding into the dark. Pressure mounts as the light above fades. At 50 meters, the rain vanishes. At 100, the world narrows to a tunnel of green. Then, black. The hum greets me like an old heartbeat. 3 beats. Pause. 3 again. As I descend, fragments of the last months replay in my mind. Cities learning the rhythm. Streetlights across Boston flickering in the same pattern. An old radio on a kitchen counter picking up ocean static that sings faintly in tune. The world thinks it's coincidence. I know better. The signal is alive, and it's spreading through every current, every circuit, every whisper of voltage we've built. At 200 meters, I switch on the floodlights. Silt dances like dust in sunlight. "Depth 250, I say. External temperature stable, frequency amplitude increasing. The capsule's instruments begin to vibrate, as if tuned by invisible hands. Then the outside view changes. The trench isn't black anymore. It glows. The same arching structures I saw before now rise like cathedrals, their surfaces pulsing with threads of light that ripple toward me. Each pulse feels like recognition. I stop the descent and let the capsule drift. "Control," I catch myself. There's no control team now, just the recorder. I don't know if you can hear this. The field has expanded. It's alive across at least 2 kilometers. Every structure vibrates in harmony. This isn't chaos. It's Music. A new tone bleeds into the background, higher, cleaner. It resolves into three notes I recognize from the harbor recording. The signal is answering. The lights around the capsule shift, forming concentric rings. I ease the thrusters forward, following their motion, deeper into the spiral. Suddenly static crackles through my comms. Human static. "Ethan, do you copy?" The voice freezes me. It's Brenner's. "We tracked your beacon. You're descending past safety depth. Turn back now." "I can't," I say. "It's trying to show me something." "You're approaching the center of the magnetic field. If it destabilizes, then you'll lose me again," I finish. "Maybe that's the point." The connection snaps into silence. Below me, the spiral opens into a vast chamber. Columns of light stretch in every direction, moving with deliberate grace. For a heartbeat, the sound cuts out completely. The water itself goes still. Then the hum returns, so deep it vibrates through the capsule like thunder. Shapes form within the light, human outlines, hundreds of them, drifting in perfect formation. Faces calm, eyes open, not dead, but waiting. Raphael, Sophia, Lucas, their bodies shimmer like reflections seen through ripples. Each one raises a hand toward me, and the hum swells into words that I feel instead of hear. Harmony restored. I whisper, "Is this what you wanted?" "Connection," the voice replies. "You are the bridge." The console lights surge. Power readings spike beyond limit. Alarms flash. "Not again," I mutter. "I won't let another detonation happen." But this isn't detonation, it's transfer. The current runs upward through the capsule, feeding into my suit, my skin, my blood. Every cell feels electric. I should be afraid. I'm not. Through the haze of light, an opening appears. A corridor of rippling blue that leads into deeper shadow. The pulse shifts, guiding me forward. I speak to the recorder again, voice steady. "Depth 710, entering central conduit. Energy readings are..." The words die as the light outside bends, forming a shape that is almost human, almost familiar. My own face. The figure mirrors my movements like a reflection made of current. When I raise a hand, it does the same. The hum condenses into a single sharp tone that pierces through the hull, and the figure speaks, my voice layered with others. "Ethan Cole, remain." "I can't," I whisper. "They'll close the trench. Then you must open another." The figure reaches forward, touching the capsule glass. Where it touches, the metal glows white-hot and melts outward, but the water doesn't rush in. Instead, the pressure equalizes. The barrier between inside and outside dissolves into shimmering light. I unfasten the harness. For a moment, I just sit there, watching the edge between worlds flicker like a soap bubble. Maybe this is what it meant all along. Not destruction, not surrender, but exchange. The recorder still runs. "This is Ethan Cole," I say quietly. Or maybe it isn't anymore. If you're hearing this, the hum has already reached you. Don't fight it. Listen. I step forward. The light engulfs me, warm, silent, infinite. Above, miles of water tremble as a new pulse races toward the surface. On the Ariadne's deck, unattended instruments flicker to life. The sonar screen displays a single phrase in soft white letters, "Sequence complete." Then every system dies. For 20 seconds, the sea remains calm. Then from the trench, a column of light erupts, straight, steady, blinding, piercing the surface and vanishing into the clouds. The global grids sync instantly. Lights in cities around the world flicker once, pause, then steady in perfect rhythm. Back on shore, Brenner stands in the operations center, watching monitors flood with new data. "Is it over?" someone asks. He shakes his head. No, it's begun. The speakers hum softly, 3 beats, pause, 3 again. And deep beneath the Atlantic, where the capsule once was, a human silhouette glows faintly inside the current, eyes open, watching the world above. If you're hearing this, it means the ocean kept its promise. The line is open. They call the event Orpheus sequence completion. To me, it was just another dawn, only brighter, larger, as if the whole planet exhaled after holding its breath for 1,000 years. The storm that was supposed to erase the trench never came. Instead, every instrument in every lab from Halifax to Tokyo began to hum at the same frequency, a single heartbeat linking every current, every grid, every living thing that listens. I remember the moment the light folded around me. I expected cold. I found warmth. Pressure, yes, but not crushing, embracing. I could see currents like veins, energy streaming through the crust of the world, connecting continents. The sea wasn't water anymore. It was language. I simply learned to read it. They pulled my capsule's remains from the trench a month later, empty, but the sensors inside still pulsed with my signature. I suppose that's what I've become now. A pulse inside a system, a witness made of resonance. It's strange how natural it feels. From here, I can see the surface and everything above it. The continents glitter like circuits. The wind carries the same rhythm the water does. Every 16 minutes, 3 pulses travel through the deep, then rise into the atmosphere and wrap the planet once. It isn't a warning anymore. It's a conversation. The world adapted quickly. Engineers noticed their grids balancing themselves, power equalizing across nations that never shared energy before. Satellites caught the faint glow over the Atlantic, lines of light curving along the ocean floor like handwriting. And somewhere between those lines I can hear people, cities, voices in perfect time. Dr. Crow calls it planetary coherence. Brenner, yes, he's still alive, says the politicians are terrified. They can't own a frequency that belongs to everyone, but even he admits the world is steadier now. Fewer outages, calmer weather, tides that behave as if choreographed. The hum has tuned us. I've learned to speak through it, not loudly, just enough. The trick is to think in rhythm, not in words. When I focus, the current carries intention. A scientist in Lisbon receives an idea for a cleaner turbine. A diver in Auckland suddenly knows the safe path through a storm trench. It's not magic, it's memory shared as pattern. That's what the sea wanted all along. Connection, harmony, to turn noise into music. Sometimes I still see them, the others who were taken, not ghosts, not bodies, patterns of light that drift between the spires, watching, guiding. They're part of the network now, and I'm part of them. We are archivists, perhaps, or translators. We hold the songs of water until you're ready to hear them. I know some of you still fear the sound. You think if you listen too long, it will pull you under. It won't. The hum doesn't hunt, it invites. It reminds you that every machine you build, every wave you cross, still belongs to the same rhythm that made you. The moment you stop fighting it, you hear the pattern clearly, and once you hear it, you can't feel alone again. To whoever finds this recording, when the sky flickers faint blue at night, that's not an error in the grid. It's the ocean breathing. When your phone vibrates with no message and you sense a rhythm hiding in the static, that's the signal checking in. And when the wind pauses just before sunrise, listen closely. You'll hear the 3 beats, the short silence, then 3 again. That's me saying hello. I don't know if I'll ever walk on land again, but I don't think I need to. The sea and I have traded languages, and I can speak for both. I am still Ethan Cole, somewhere between current and light, watching the planet I once thought was silent learn to sing. There's one last thing the ocean taught me. It said, "Every current carries a memory. When you listen, you become part of the flow. So listen, breathe with it. Let the noise fade until all you hear is the steady pulse beneath everything. That's how you'll know we're connected." If the lights in your city blink 3 times, pause 3 again, don't be afraid. It means the world is in tune. And if you ever wonder whether I made it home, I did. You just haven't realized yet that home is everywhere the water touches. Some nights the hum fades completely, and the world forgets it was ever there. But then, somewhere on the edge of the ocean, a single light blinks under the waves, and the rhythm returns. 3 pulses, pause, 3 again, like a heartbeat too patient to die. People say the sound is only the wind in the cables, the sea speaking in electricity. Maybe they're right. Maybe the story of the Orpheus line is just a myth sailors tell to make the darkness easier to bear. But I know what silence used to feel like, and I know this isn't silence. When I close my eyes, I can still feel the current threading through every life, a whisper that says the distance between us was never real. It tells me that connection is older than fear, that every voice, every heartbeat, every wave belongs to the same song. So if you ever stand beside the water and the tide pauses for a breath, listen. If you hear the hum, soft, steady, impossibly far away, don't turn away. That sound means we're still here. It means the world remembers. Fade to black. The hum continues, low and steady. 3 beats. Pause. 3 again. Then a final whisper, almost lost in the static. We were never alone.